functional stovepipes with the slow response that you get from that functional structure was death. Now, we've seen lots of setbacks in our national security system because we are still in our functional stovepipes. And not only are we in functional stovepipes in the departments, but inside the departments, we're in functional stovepipes. And what the corporations recognized is they needed a team that had all of the expertise across the corporation, focused on one mission, to go out and find that answer rapidly for the corporation. That's what we need. And we need to get the departments have a stranglehold on what's going on in the interagency system, and that needs to end. So this is one idea that we proposed. For crises, we proposed creating interagency task forces with an integrated chain of command. Now, this will pose some challenges on how to make that happen, but we are smart enough to figure out how we can put civilians and military people in an integrated chain of command so that we get unity of effort out in the field. Our next goal is linking resource. Our next theme is linking resources to goals. And here we're proposing, first of all, that there be 6-year budgets put together by all of the national security departments and agencies, and there'll be national security, the planning guidance that's sent out, and some budgetary guidance from OMB. This PSC is President Security Council, Reed National Security Council. We're proposing that the National Security Council have a much bigger role in driving what OMB does on security budgets. Matter of fact, we're recommending that nothing go to the President on security budgets without going through the Director for National Security. But we'd like the National Security Council staff to really be in the driver's seat. We're going to propose an integrated national security budget, so everything will, all of the national security will be in one budget account. We can think about the trade-offs. We'll do mission budget displays, and we would propose that this be sent to the Congress as a presentational budget, especially the mission budget displays, to inform the budget committees and the authorizing committees. The next major theme is to align personnel incentives with strategic objectives. We'd have a human capital strategic plan. Just like in Goldwater-Nichols, we'd create a national security professional corps of people who are specially trained and oriented towards serving in the interagency. We'd have an interagency personnel system. We'd use promotion incentives. You cannot be promoted to a senior level unless you've served successfully in an interagency assignment. And we'd strengthen education and training. You cannot go to an embassy staff unless you've had training in team dynamics and in conflict resolution. Because if we're going to make that a real country team out there, we'll need to do some training. Next slide, please. Improve the flow of knowledge and information. Create a chief knowledge officer at the NSC to get working on this issue. A single security classification regime, consolidating security clearance procedures. If this is going to be a national security system, these things will need to serve the entire system. Then the last idea is build a legislative branch, executive branch partnership. Here we have to get these select committees established so that we have somebody that can talk to the NSC about the highest level. If national security is going to be the framework, we need it on Capitol Hill as well. We need more flexibility on funding issues on the Hill. We need to strengthen the foreign policy committees. You know, they've only had an authorization bill 4 times in the last 20 years, and so all of the soft power issues are not getting work there. When I was on the Senate Armed Services Committee, before I started doing Goldwater-Nichols and Cohen-Nunn, I was a senior foreign policy advisor. And we did not have an authorization bill out of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So all of the foreign policy issues had to be addressed in the defense authorization bill. And that meant that when we went to conference with the House of Representatives, I would have 45 of the major foreign policy issues that were not going to be decided by the diplomats on Capitol Hill. They were going to be decided by the hard power people. If we are really going to get the soft power instruments moving, we need this kind of visibility and oversight from the Congress. Okay, my last slide. The way ahead in our project. We are now in assisting the executive branch and the Congress to consider our reforms. We're drafting legal instruments. I mentioned those 3 items, executive orders, presidential directives, one set, amendments to the rules of the Senate and House, and a new National Security Act. We're hard at work on those. Particularly, we're trying to think of this issue of what new statutory authority is required for that new National Security Act. We're thinking about implementation ideas. I mentioned we're starting a major collaboration effort. We've taken our 7 themes and we've created theme teams, and then underneath them we'll create 20 to 30 issue teams of 10 to 15 experts from across the government and outside of government to drill down on our recommendations in great detail so we understand exactly how this could come about, and then pull it up to think about what needs to go in the law or what needs to go into a presidential directive. But we'll reach out to the stakeholders, get them involved in that dialogue, get them on these issue teams, or have the issue teams talking to them. But we'll also think about how are we going to implement these ideas and start to plan that. And then we're going to continue to publish some of our documents, lots of the case study talks that we've done up here. And then the last thing that we're going to have to do is we've been asked to look at the intelligence community, sort of to do a major analysis of the intelligence community, what kinds of reforms are necessary there, what is the whole purpose of ODNI, does the DNI have sufficient authority, and so this came out of the fact that the Congress gave the money to ODNI, and they sort of said, okay, well, if the funding's coming through us, we're going to get a little something out of this. So we're having to turn our attention to part of that phase 2 work here for the intelligence community. Okay, that's my story, and I'm prepared to answer your questions. I took longer than the 20 or 30 minutes I was asked to take, but I appreciate your attention. Some questions?
Anyone?
Yes.
One of the things that intrigues me is your comment about adding another layer of training, the training on the interagency stuff. When you think about how long, and I'm